Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
We're back after a slight hiatus,
Welcome
talking
back.
about the Dear Home series, discussing the January 2023 case, letter 5. Finally get the answers we've been eagerly waiting for.
Yeah, I hope you've all solved it by now, but if you
We've had
haven't,
plenty of chances to solve it.
yeah, like come on, it's too late. We're just gonna spoil you now and ourselves.
Yeah.
You just have to live
The
with it.
case of
Sorry.
the case of the bullied betters.
Yeah. And the roguish son-in-law. Um
That dastardly dandy, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to read through the letters to remind myself what was going on with them, and
Mhm,
um, you know, eh, like I went into it with the idea that the big, like, to me, the bombshell in letter 4 is that
there's a
is that
bombshell?
yeah, there's a bombshell.
Ooh.
Yeah, you ready? It's it's that Joshua is related to Sabini. Like,
Okay,
to me learning that kind of
yeah,
changed the frame on that character completely. And I started thinking, like, okay, early on it's like, oh, I suspected Sabini,
mhm,
and like the
mhm,
tendency is to write that off because he seems like the obvious false suspect.
yeah,
But then we get to this and it's like, oh, well, maybe Sabini really was behind it, and he was employing this cousin to who, like, has these
mhm,
weird ideas about dressing up as a preacher and taking out obituaries and just these really, like, elaborate,
mhm.
almost like a Tarantino character or something, this, like,
I was
weird
thinking the
method
exact
of.
same thing. He's the Vega brother who never was, like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, quoting Bible, verses, and, trying to intimidate people and stuff. But, like, there's a couple things about it that are confusing, like, in terms of, the other thing that we find out is, like, he was beaten up,
mhm,
at some point.
mhm.
So, like, who beat him up? Like, how is that? So I was like, okay, is he actually
Oh,
working with Sabini? Or is he actually working against Sabini, trying to
can
take
I
over the family business or
I just
something?
thought of something that I don't think we thought about yet. Which
Okay.
would be which is the irony, which is an ironic angle to this idea,
Okay.
which is, did Joshua place a bet and lose, and then he got beat up like everybody else who owes
Oh
Savini money?
shit. After all that, he
After
went
all
and
that,
bet.
yeah, that's, like, it's supposed to be ironic that the guy who's pretending to
Oh
be
my
the
god.
anti-gambling preacher actually was gambling.
Oh my
Now
god.
factor that into your theory machine.
The bitter irony.
Yeah, because it just dawned on me that, yeah, this he's just like everybody else who's gotten beat up, and it's like, oh well, what if it's for
Yeah.
the same reason?
It's valid. It's valid. I don't have a good explanation for it, so fuck it. Yeah, give me that. It's really funny though. He got, or was it like he got charged with collecting, and he had to, like, step it up, but he maybe oh, here we go. Okay. Let me try to run something. This might be too involved, but let me try to do something here. So we also have this, like, son-in-law plot where, like, the son-in-law is involved with this guy and this lady at a bank
Mhm.
who
Very French. This
who's very
whole
French.
the whole
Uh,
the whole the whole affair is very French.
Yes, very much
The
so.
menage
Menage
a
a
trois.
trois. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. Uh, 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 they created some kind of, fake financial institution, and it seems like they're, like, funneling money to it somehow. And, like, was that, like, there's questions about that. Was that to cover debts, gambling debts? Was that just to get money to bet with? Was it, you know? And then the gangsters are after them, so it's like they're not paying their debts. Are they not paying their debts because they're just greedy and they want to keep the money
Mhm.
for themselves? Or did the scheme go wrong and they're actually, like, they don't have anything, and
Yeah.
like, what is the problem exactly with that?
Yeah.
So anyway, I say all that to say that maybe one thought that occurred to me was that maybe Joshua's a collector for Sabini
Hmm.
and was supposed to collect from them, you know, and like they're in deep and he failed and that's why he got beat up,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think that's yep.
because they ran away, you know. Um
Ah, so they actually got away and he lost them.
yeah.
Okay, okay, I like that. That gives a catalyst to why he would have gotten beat up at some
Yeah,
given point.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to do, like tie it more
yeah.
into the plot since there's, you know, there's no indication aside from the bittersweet irony. There's no indication in the story that he has a gambling problem or would gamble or would get
Hmm.
himself in
Hmm.
debt or any, you know what I mean? There everything about him is about his weird persona or it's about, you know, intimidating these betters. You know, that's pretty much
Hmm.
it. So I just think like it makes more sense that it would be connected to something like that. At least in my head it does.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's how I would try to draw it together, but I'm confused about the bracelet. Like this son-in-law gave Jenny, you know, this Wark McKenzie's daughter that this bracelet, but then like
Hmm.
she's like, yeah, stuff started going missing to pay off those debts. But Miss
Hmm.
Gilbert or Gilbert was
Por favor.
was actually wearing the bracelet. So it's like, is he carrying on an affair? Is it, you
Hmm.
know, like what happened there? Like, why
Hmm.
didn't they pawn it? Like, what, like, I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
I'm
and
confused about
what
that.
complicates it more, this is really a great soap opera plot. I mean, because you know, we cut to the picture of the four of them, you know, William
Yeah.
and then his wife Ginny and then James and Miss Gilbert.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? They all knew each other, but yet only three of them are in on the
Mm-hmm.
fake institution scheme? Or is Ginny in on it too? And she's playing innocent, you know?
You know, I mean, all right, look, if this
Oh,
was a
can I say one extra thing? Because I just
sure.
thought of the fact that someone gets poked with the poker at the house, right? And then
Yes.
there's an implication by Ginny that maybe she did it, right? Wasn't there like a thing where the dad was like, "Oh,
The
I've never heard
cops
him."
the cops thought that maybe she was implicated. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe she found out about the thing with Miss Gilbert, and then that's why
Okay.
she got so mad that she
Okay.
tried to kill him.
Right, she's
Yeah,
not in deep with the scheme, but she found out
yeah,
about the adultery and then yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that actually that works pretty well because I just think like the way these are written, I find it hard to believe that the letter writer is going to be um you know, so like his own daughter will be involved in the thing that he's
Mhm, mhm.
invested. Like I don't quite see him doing that. So I feel like she's not involved in the bank scheme, but yeah, she
Yeah,
definitely could have done some stabbing if there's like
mhm.
betrayal going on there.
And it could
So
be that I do wonder, like, what all do we know was being sold to pay the debts? We know she says the tea set,
yeah.
and she claims the bracelet. But
Yeah.
was there anything else they mentioned? Because I wonder if there were things that were going missing, like other jewelry, and he was just giving it to her or something like. Because it adds a third angle to this whole money
It
fiasco, right? Like,
does. It
there's
really
the gambling,
does.
like he's getting money or losing money from gambling. He's getting money or losing money from the bank, the fake bank thing. And now there's this idea of, okay, where he's got to pawn things to get money for that, but was he really
Yeah.
pawning stuff? Like, so basically, like, is that tea set at the pawn shop or is it at Miss Gilbert's house?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. So she says is things started vanishing last year to cover William's debts. So I don't think she names anything
Yeah.
specific
Okay.
except like he does ask
Yeah.
about the bracelet and so
Hmm.
she
She's like,
says
my bracelet and my dress and my shoes and my hats and my gloves, all just my women's attire suddenly go missing.
Do you
Sorry,
ever
honey, it's the
visit
only
your
thing the pawn
husband?
shop. It's the only thing the pawn shop will take. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, do you ever visit your husband at work? Because like Miss Gilbert
Yeah.
works at the front door, and like you could just walk in there and see her wearing all your shit. Like it just
Yeah.
seems like
Well, maybe he's like, yeah, I work at Winslow's, and she goes and can't find it because it's Barclays.
no, it can't be that because she's the one who corrects him.
Oh, damn, she knows that. She knows that trick.
Yeah, she's the one who says, "No, father, it's called Winslow's."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am not convinced that they didn't mess up and then
Yes,
retcon an
I
answer.
I'm convinced that they messed up and retconned an answer.
Because, like, why would you bother with that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Does the name does the name change of the bank actually matter to the plot? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it shouldn't.
yeah.
I hope it doesn't. All right. So, I mean, there's some food for thought. Do you want to say more? Do you want to
I mean, I guess
speculate
I guess
more?
I want to. Yeah, I guess I want to. Before we get to letter five and get the answers, I want to kind of go through all the not all of them, but the big open questions. So, like,
Okay.
one of the things we just kind of surmised off podcast right before we started recording was we reread the scene where James is apparently leaving town in a taxi, and he's got a huge trunk with him, and we are
Yeah.
pretty sure that's the trunk
The
from
trunk from the
William and
house.
Jenny's house, and
Yeah.
we know it's Jenny's house.
Jenny's
Please,
house,
thank you.
please. Yeah.
So we were theorizing, perhaps comically, that William is in the trunk
Oh,
because
right,
it
right.
just
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
very heavy. He was struggling with it. The cab driver had to help him put it in the cab.
Yeah.
So he's sneaking out of town. That would
Something
tie into
heavy's
what,
in there.
yeah, that would tie into what you said about um, Joshua getting beat up because he didn't catch them and or get money
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Now, I guess from timeline wise, had we before they talk about Joshua limping, had we seen him since the altercation at the house? When Warwick sees him on the street, is that before or after there's the altercation at the house?
Oh God. That's the timeline is confused in one of these letters.
Yeah.
So okay, let me see. So I think when I oh yeah, and it's this one. It's letter 3. Okay. So he sees yeah, so he sees Joshua lurking at the place. Um and then he leaves and but I think he said that he saw I think he said that he saw Joshua earlier. Um
That's right. This
uh
isn't. Yeah, doesn't this story starts with a flashback or something, and then they like.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think he says I saw oh god, now I gotta see
Yeah.
if I can
So
find
when the
this.
day started, the daughter was gone. He hurried over to her house. The detectives were there, so that's when they see the incident, right?
Right.
Okay. Then he sees Joshua there. This must have been after the incident. Okay. Anyway, but the point of my question was just to make sure that they're not suggesting Joshua got injured in the altercation at the house.
Yeah, no, I think not. It seems I mean, there's no indication that he's injured in this. I think
Yeah,
this is
this
the
one seems.
last like
Yeah,
timeline-wise, I think when he appears at Jenny's house is the last time that he
yeah,
appears
yeah.
before the
Um.
beaten up thing.
Okay, and so what? So as far as the bank, the fake bank thing, yeah, it's a really weird thing because the bank is getting audited, right? Because of whatever happened.
Yeah.
But then the manager dude isn't that mad. He's just like, tell them they work here. Get like, if you see them, tell them to come back to work.
I okay, so yeah, I had a specific let me see this here. Um hold on. Uh yeah, yeah. So yeah, maybe the who is this? Jacobson, like maybe this Jacobson character, found out about the fraud, but like the bank will be implicated if it's discovered that this happened, and he's trying to like cover it up.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
Um
feel like we cut to the picture of the four of them, and then the camera widens and he's in it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Um
Okay. He's trying to cover it up. Why would he want to cover it
but
up?
he gets like really mad when work brings up the Nolan financial thing.
Yeah.
So it makes me think that I guess there's two ways to go. Like number one, like he's trying to cover it up because it implicates him either willingly or unwillingly. The other reason might be maybe he's just like, who are you, stranger? I'm not gonna tell you anything about bank business, like,
Uh-huh.
and so he's just being cagey, but like he is trying to find them and stop them, and he's not saying like, you better get them back here because they're going to be arrested. He's saying like they should come back to work, like trying to lure them back. Like maybe that's the idea, like don't say anything that sounds threatening. I don't know.
Yeah, that's some 3D chess there, but you
Hey,
know.
hey, you gotta do, you can't just play 2D chess, all right? There's a
Yeah,
lot going
yeah,
on here.
yeah.
I'm just trying to come up with various reasons why he's behaving like this, because I think it could go a few ways.
It's weird, but he says he didn't think. I guess he's talking about. I don't know who he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about both William and James, but he's like, didn't think he'd be the sort to disappear during an audit. So if he knows that they created a fraudulent bank and siphoned money from his bank to theirs, that's a weird thing to say. Like, didn't think he'd be the sort to disappear during an audit. It's outrageous. And
Yeah.
that's what's weird is he doesn't seem suspicious of them. Like I'd agree, like you're saying, he seems like, if anything, sort of protective. But he's not like, oh, they're just doing an audit. I think I know why. Of course they wouldn't want to be around now. It's not a surprise. Yeah, oh, I wouldn't expect to see them here. We're in the middle of an audit. Like something like that. If they had something to hide, so it's yeah, it's I can't really understand his attitude. He was weird from the beginning.
Like not give away that he knows. I don't know. That's the best I can do with that. Or because I forgot this, they are specifying that they're having an audit. So it definitely could be the first thing that he's trying to cover it up. Because
Mhm.
like the bank can be in trouble for this happening.
Mhm.
Because banks and gangsters are all the same, right?
I mean, who are you quoting? I agree, but
Shakespeare? I don't know.
yeah, name
Charles
a person.
Dickens?
Yeah, right. Name a person in the past. They probably said that. Let's see. Okay, well, I don't know what to do about that. Um, I do love this thing that I thought I was supposed to take for face value, but I see now I think it's supposed to be the opposite way. When work is like, oh, so I took a visit to Nolan Financial's London office, and surprise, surprise, it was a luxury pet supplier instead. And he's like, so much for Nolan's London office. I take it they're now operating solely out of Paris, right? I think we're supposed to believe that actually there is no bank and there
I
isn't a
think
Paris
you're right
office.
about that, but it's like, is he naive or is he just being
Yeah,
like silly? Like, is he being like, is he pretending like he doesn't understand the
yeah.
truth?
Well, can a letter wink? I don't know. Like the sarcasm is the slash s wasn't invented yet, right? So he can't really tell us in typography if he's being serious. I'm assuming because he didn't say Holmes, I discovered this bank is fraudulent. Um,
Yeah.
and this is what my nephew son-in-law is involved with. I think that means that he thinks it actually is a real thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's for us to put together.
Yeah.
He's not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Or Nolan Financial is real, and they just closed their London office because the pet supplier offered to pay them more, you know, for the property. I don't know. And that's it. What's the problem? What if it's real?
uh I mean it could
And they
be.
were trying to, and James and William are just such good bankers that Nolan Finances was trying to recruit them, and that's why Jacobson is like, no, 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 they work here, they work here, they don't, can't steal my guys. They're too good, although they disappeared during an audit.
Speaking of 3D chess, oh my. Yeah, no, that I mean that could be true. I feel like it's too convoluted, but I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. So
Okay, any other big parts of the mystery you want to hypothesize about before we see what Holmes has to say?
um I'm trying to think. I think yeah, I think I've said the main things I wanted to address. We'll see what comes up in the final letter.
All right, you wanna read it?
Sure. Shall I go for it here?
Shall
Oh my
you
god.
shall?
This has been so weighted. I feel like we need fanfare and a
Woo!
drum roll
There you
and all
go.
kinds of stuff. Um thank you.
High class sound effects.
Was that a drum roll?
Uh huh.
Okay. Just checking. Okay, here we go. This is from Sherlock Holmes. Here to solve the mystery. Presumably 16 May 1920. So that's 2 days after the previous letter. Dear Mr. McKenzie, let me start with the most important news for you and Jenny. William Wilson is alive and well. And there's no reason to suspect Jenny will be the target of an attack from Sabini or otherwise. Please take a moment to relish this news. All right. Um,
Relish commence.
Now let us examine the broader series of events that have formed the backdrop for Mr. Wilson's disappearance and other criminal goings on in your neighborhood. When you first wrote to me, your case was already quite the strange one. Your old regular, Joe Stark, had been dreadfully drubbed, and two most singular obituaries, mourning Jack Faultworthy and Annie Nickerson, prior to their deaths, had been printed by the Daily Herald. Already, you had correctly deduced these obituaries were warnings aimed at getting other watchers to pay up. Well done,
Welchers.
sir.
Welchers.
Oh, Welchers, not watchers. Thank you. That makes a lot more sense. Like that's a new phrase. I never
Yeah,
heard that one.
that old timey English usage of watchers,
Watch, because they watch the horses,
because
right?
they're horse watchers. They
Don't
watch their
they?
money go down the drain, don't they?
Welchers. Okay. But then Annie Nickerson was murdered. This took the case in another direction. At the time, you wonder why Sabini would be so foolhardy as to murder a debtor. I instead asked myself, who else would have cause to commit these murders? Your following letter, dated 11 May, helped answer this question, but brought another complication to light as your daughter's husband, William Wilson, and his associate, James Matter, suddenly disappeared. You suspected that the ominous Joshua, possibly the gauntlet of righteousness, now that's a red herring, I'm convinced,
Yeah.
were somehow involved, if not responsible. And that was partially true. I will further address this later. More intriguing is Jack Darby, who you indicated in that second letter had recently arrived from Clerkenwell and wanted to move in on Sabini. This made him a strong suspect for Nickerson's murder, for while it is unquestionable that Sabini and his associates placed the bogus obituaries in the newspapers. Ah, I
What?
knew it.
But why?
Well, what why did they do it?
Why is it an unquestionable?
Well, I don't know, but he
I
thinks
just,
it's
I
true.
just,
I thought it was
I
true, and he
just,
thinks it's true, so I'm
I
not
just, I
questioning.
just, I just hope he would tell us why it's unquestionable. Well, let's see what he has to say.
We'll
Just
see.
curious
We'll
that
see.
he didn't actually like tell us why that's true yet. So I'm just
No.
curious.
Um, he had nothing to gain from the murders. The same cannot be said of Darby. I surmise that when he learned of Sabini's bogus obituaries, he hatched the idea of making them a reality to take his rival off the streets. Ah, a clever move.
Oh
If
wow,
I
that's
didn't,
3D chess.
it is
That's
fucking 3D
3D
chess.
chess.
This never occurred to me. If Darby could secretly dispatch Sabini's Welchers in the right way, he would get the law to accomplish his greater goal for him. Still, this is only but a fragment of this mystery.
What?
Darby's Darby's maneuver would not explain our newly missing men or the fact that only Nickerson, not Faultworthy, had been murdered, despite both of their obituaries being printed. Additional evidence would be needed to see reason in these occurrences, but in the same May 11 May letter, you turned up a fascinating clue pointing to a completely different crime, another fragment of the mystery. When you found the charred letterhead for Nolan Finances, our investigation into Matter's disappearance took a sharp turn. My initial hunch was that William Wilson, James Matter, and other Confederates at
There
Winslow's
we go.
were involved in some sort of embezzlement. Under cover of their own bookkeeping, they were likely siphoning funds to a fraudulent investment firm, I thought. Jenny's reports of Matter's visits and Williams' pattern of carousing indicate that they performed these deposits once a month. But even so, I struggled to see how Sabini came into play in all this. I was able to develop this hypothesis with your third letter of 12 May, which not only showed your capacity for reconnaissance,
Thank you.
but hinted at several reconnaissance, as we say in English. Um,
Which sounds better?
but hinted at several scenarios explaining Wilson and company's disappearance. Your report offered three reasonable theories. Sabini might have kidnapped or killed Wilson. Wilson and his partner Matter had turned on one another with greed or jealousy as potential motives, or your daughter Jenny had turned on her husband. The trunk missing from Jenny's house and the large hole in her garden both cast doubt on your daughter, as did the fireplace poker. Yet the same thing could be said of Wilson and Matter. Either of them could have committed a foul crime and fled while attempting to cover it up. Thankfully, in the midst of all this, Joshua had again reared his head, drawing my attention back to Sabini with his limp. Its onset, which you unknowingly chronicled, was surely the result of an injury from. Oh, he was limping? You asked about that, and I didn't even catch that. Okay. I didn't realize he was limping during that scene. Was
Well,
surely
I didn't know he was limping except for the very last part,
I feel
right?
like they're saying he was limping earlier based on this.
Yeah,
I'd
but
have
he
to look it
wasn't
up.
limping as much.
Yeah, I know. I
Okay,
don't
well,
know.
he's at least saying he thinks he got stabbed by the poker, right? That's what we're thinking here.
Injury from a blunt instrument wielded by a strong man. That's what he says. In this case, Jenny's fireplace poker.
Oh, 1 sentence later. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Joshua must have tried to pay an intimidation call on Matter, whom he followed, much like he did to the faultworthies. It's misspelled. Well done. And no doubt Ranny Annie, but instead of quartering his target amidst friends and family, he ran into two desperate men preparing to flee the country.
Oh wow.
Far from intimidated, they set upon him. At this point, it was still plausible to believe that Joshua or another associate of Sabini's successfully killed or kidnapped Wilson and Matter despite their injuring his leg. But with their final missive in hand, I was able to tie a neat string around this unexpected case and formulate a new hypothesis. On that fateful night, described in her second letter, Wilson and Matter, under pressure to escape the country and upon confronting Joshua, decided to take advantage of Sabini's shady tactics, much like Darby did.
Everybody's playing 3D
Oh
chess.
my god, this is the most complicated one. Holy shit. Okay. Okay. Your interviews with Matter's neighbor and the staff at Winslow's provided several bits of information that strengthened this conjecture and shed light on their main collaborator. The neighbor, Mrs. Calloway, not only revealed that Matter was more than healthy, but also confirmed a long-standing connection between Miss Gilbert from Winslow's, Wilson, and Matter. The nature of their relationship, Wilson and Miss Gilbert's, that is, may well be spurious, but he is surely smitten to some degree, or the young lady would not be in possession of your daughter's bracelet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The revelation that Miss Gilbert, too, had suddenly gone missing bolstered my confidence in the fact that she was working together with Wilson and Matter. However, it was not until learning of, quote, Fifi's Paradise that I truly perceived the small gang's plan. When I read of your discovery of Fifi's Paradise on Lime Street, I took another look at the addresses you had noted earlier on the Nolan Finances stationery. Clearly, chicanery was afoot, and perhaps I am slipping. The office supposedly found in Paris was listed on Rue Treblig. This happens to be Miss Gilbert's last name written in reverse order. Ah! And a street I defy you to find on one of the Librairie Hachette's tour books of Paris. Upon realizing this, their crime unraveled before me. All right. Well, so that's a conclusive reason why the Paris thing's fake.
Yeah.
If I had realized that, I would have said it. All right.
Yeah.
The crime's modus was simple. Each month, with Mr. Jacobson's blessing, Matter and Wilson left the bank with a large sum of money and brought it not to Fifi's Paradise, but to Jenny's backyard, where they buried it as dogs might a bone. On each of these paydays, they would celebrate late into the night with Miss Gilbert. Meanwhile, at Winslow's, Jacobson, with false hope, prepared to leave with Miss Gilbert for France, believing the young men would take the fall.
Oh, that's the fourth degree of
Oh
chess,
my
my
god, there's a
friend.
lot of chess. I thought it was too much, but it wasn't enough.
There was enough chess. We needed
Holy
more chess.
shit. Her elderly
Yeah.
suitor was sorely mistaken. After the encounter with Joshua described in your second letter, the duo dug up the pilfered pounds
The
and left
duo
behind,
dug up.
yeah, and left behind a calling card, making it appear that they had been yet another victim of the voracious lion. Ah, they
Wait,
left
what's the
the.
call? What's
I
the?
think he means the Bible passage.
Oh my
That's
god. These
yeah.
are the most clever criminal.
Yeah.
I hope they, you know, I hope they all got away with it, you know,
It's
because they deserve it.
it's they left a fake Joshua thing.
So
Like
not only is Jack Darby implicating Sabini in one set of crimes in plot, you got William and Matter and James doing the same thing to implicate
yep.
Sabini Joshua to make it seem like that the reason they're not around is because Sabini got them. Is that
Yeah.
is that what they're saying?
Yep. Yep.
Oh my god, that's
Yep.
amazing. That is
Yep.
amazing.
I never I
Amazing.
Joshua was there. I had no reason to think it was fake. That's so
So they
weird.
were like, Joshua shows up. He's like, okay, just another standard intimidation about to happen. Knock on the
Mm-hmm.
door, and he's like, okay, you boys need to repent. And they're like, excuse me, we're in the middle of fleeing the country. This is a bad time. Also, like, we're bad dudes, so we're just gonna fight you now.
Yep.
And so, and so one guy hits him with the
Yep.
poker, and then I guess Joshua goes off running.
And then he
But
slinks
then,
away.
okay,
Yeah.
but now I guess they don't have to know Joshua's connected to Sabini necessarily, but they know that somebody's going around and has the connection with the Bible verse and Sabini.
I feel like they should know that he's connected to Sabini since they must be doing the bets with Sabini.
And they just know it's
And
his cousin.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so they
yeah.
just. But why would he show up and act like and not know what he's getting into? I guess he did obviously didn't expect James to be there, right? He just thought William was gonna be
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew about this whole plot that they had going and that they were
But
planning to
it's weird
flee.
because it seems like Sabini was after them, right? Because they had that whole thing where James has the gun. He's like, if they come after us, we'll be ready. So they're
Yeah,
prepared for someone to come after them. So you're
yeah,
saying like Joshua shows up? Is he the guy that they were prepared for?
yeah. I think so. I think
Okay,
so.
but does he know that, or did he think this is just going to be a normal house call, and he gets surprised that they're trying to attack him?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Joshua expected that. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
Okay,
I'm assuming that he didn't know about all this scheming they were
and
doing,
then
and he
and
didn't
then
know that he was walking into a dangerous situation.
okay, that makes sense. But then there was also, I think that day it was only James's name in the obituary. Did
That's
William
true.
never got one,
As
right?
far as I know, yeah, no, I don't think he did.
But he shows up at William's house,
Yeah, it's weird.
and well, was he looking for James and James wasn't there? So he goes to
Maybe. Yeah,
okay. That's
maybe
a little
Holmes will address
unanswered
that.
question. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just trying to piece together. This is the most complicated like series of events. Yeah. What a
It might
mystery.
just be a contrivance. We'll see.
All
Um
right.
okay, the embezzlers then made their separate ways to Southampton, where Miss Gilbert later joined them. Thence they boarded the Coronia. Why
Does he know this?
were we supposed to know that? All right, anyway. The local authorities plan to greet the trio when it docks in New York City. All three will be in the custody of the London police once they are escorted back to Southampton. Inspector Walls at Scotland Yard has agreed to let you break this news to Jenny. I suggest you do so before the ship docks on 21 May, as Wilson's arrest will more than likely find its way to the headlines into the headlines. To complete the picture, we have only a few loose ends. In your most recent letter, you fretted over the fact that Sabini would soon be let out of gaol. Is that a word?
Is that misspelled jail or is gal?
Gaol?
They sometimes they have new words to share with us.
I want to see if this is actually a word. Yeah, okay. It's just an old-fashioned way of spelling jail. Okay.
There it is.
All right. And that Jack Darby had become another of the missing. I think it is a tribute to your good nature that you underestimate the depravity of the criminal mind.
That's what we did.
Regarding Sabini's latest brush with the police, I propose that it was not Jack Darby who informed on him, but Sabini who tipped off the police to ensure that he would be brought in for questioning.
Oh my god. He's like, I see your plan to get me arrested, and I rate my own plan to get myself arrested. So you think you're in control, but I'm actually in control.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Wow.
I say this because Jack Darby soon after went missing. Darby is not the sort of man to go into hiding. I fear he will not be found alive. When did he go missing? When Sabini was still in jail. What better alibi for Sabini? None. Okay, I didn't even
This feels like
remember that that character went missing.
the way everyone is so dastardly. Like I feel like Jenny is gonna be the mastermind behind all of this. It's just like everybody's doing something crazy.
it it's seriously a lot. Um Okay, as concerns the evangelists at Alexandria Park Racecourse and nearby, while you may find them to be a nuisance and once suspected them of brutality, they can clearly be held harmless in all of this. While it is repugnant to think that a hoodlum like Joshua would hide behind a Bible, you yourself and later Snape Stevens provided confirmation that the Gauntlet and Joshua were unrelated entities. I
Hmm.
will add that colleagues of mine in Birmingham discovered that in addition to his criminal past, Joshua has performed in many amateur theater productions in Birmingham. Most recently is the pirate Mr. Smee in Peter Pan.
Yes. Yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. So we easily could have had a version of this story where there was a pirate going door to door saying, "If you don't pay your bets, Captain Hook is gonna come get
Make you
you."
walk the plank,
Make you
yeah.
walk the plank. You're gonna go to
He
Never Never Land called Death. Wow.
he uses the name Bobby Fischetti.
Classic Bobby. Bobby's always over here
Oh,
acting like he
Bobby!
acting like he's Joshua, acting like he's Peter Pan. He's always crazy over here. This
You
Bobby
gonna
being
play
crazy.
this week over here. You
Yeah.
shaking down customers over there.
Go back to Birmingham, Bobby. Go back to Birmingham, all right?
Family histories can be curious. Finally, regarding Jack Faltworthy, I believe he has escaped unharmed at the cost of having to remain in hiding with his poor wife Margie at Brighton this past week. They will soon surface, likely with sunburns and more willing to stand you to a cup of tea. Stand you to a cup of tea. Okay. So there you have it. Wark, you should be proud of your detective work. And along those lines, congratulations on your skillful disguise. Believe me, I have had my share of trouble with mustaches. It heartens me to see such promising young adults choose it. I'm sorry, it disheartens me to see such promising young adults choose a criminal path. But I take solace in knowing that your daughter Jenny will be all the better knowing the truth about her husband
Mm,
now. Hefty debts aside, the fact that Wilson was capable of making a bracelet he had given his wife into a gift to Miss Gilbert hardly speaks well of his character or cash reserves.
mm.
Sick burn, Sherlock. All
Yeah,
right.
wow.
Um, may I suggest that in the future you continue to keep your wagers small and clients few? It has been a pleasure to reacquaint and to help you through this bracing chase. If you find yourself in London, you would be more than welcome to enter the Diogenes Club and join me for a brandy. This will be a silent celebration if you recall the club's rules, but the situation could be mended with a quick stroll to the closest pub. Your colleague, Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective.
Holy wow.
All right.
Jeez.
Um, yeah, that was
Did we
weird.
get anything right?
I mean, okay, like we knew that the what were they called? The Gauntlet
The
were not
Gauntlet,
involved.
not involved. Yep.
Not
Air
connected to
Joshua was the drummer
Joshua.
boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we figured that out. I mean, we knew that Joshua was involved with Sabini, but I mean that was basically clear. So that's not
Mhm.
that good. You did pretty much put your finger on the fact that Winslow uh or Jacobson was involved
Mhm.
in the scheme, but you didn't quite make it to he's also pining after Miss Gilbert.
That somehow in all of this he thinks he's got a shot with her. I'm like, where's the details of that they laid for us?
Yeah,
I didn't
I
get anything like that at
I
all.
have no idea what it was that they thought we were going to look at and draw that conclusion. I don't know. Definitely the backwards Gilbert in the street name
Mhm.
was something that I feel like I should have caught because it's a weird name for a road. I mean, it doesn't even sound French, so I should have been more suspicious, but I just didn't even
Have you
I
ever
didn't
studied
even
French?
think about it.
Do you have any passing familiarity with the language?
A passing, yes.
Um, what was the street name again?
Treblig.
And which letter did we see that in? Was that three
Yeah, it's the
or
one
four?
where he finds the Nolan thing in the house. I think it's in letter 2. I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Uh yeah, it's in
He
letter 2.
mentions it.
Yeah, letter 2 at the top of page 2.
Uh, oh, okay. I wouldn't have said that looks like Gilbert.
I
Yeah,
have to
the FDA
say,
doesn't think like that with these, but it should.
it like in retrospect, the fact that there's this parenthetical comment, I've taken the liberty of enclosing the top page for your analysis. I
Ah,
feel like that should have been a clue to pay more
yeah,
attention to that.
yep,
Now we knew that Nolan was their front. I mean, we did figure that out.
yeah. I guess we didn't think the street name would matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter about the street name. We did know it was a front. This is just a little Easter egg to help you
Yeah,
figure that out. But
yeah,
it was confirmed. I mean, it was basically. I mean, basically, what it does is it confirms the Paris address is not real, and Warwick confirms the London address is not real. So
yeah,
then you go, okay, it can't be a place.
yeah,
Um, but the other thing that I was off about was just the mechanics of embezzlement. I've never embezzled before,
yeah.
so I wasn't thinking the way I was thinking it would work wasn't as sort of just pedestrian as what they were doing.
Mhm.
Of just like literally taking money out of the bank in
Once
a
a
secret
month,
way and then taking it to somebody's house and
burying it
burying
in the
it.
backyard.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
guess they're basically the books are going to say the money went to Nolan,
yeah,
right? But in reality, the money went to the backyard.
yeah.
And then they're burying the backyard. And then, okay, so but here's, I guess, the question. I mean, Sherlock was really pretty soft on, there was a sick burn about Williams' finances and stuff, but I think he was pretty soft on the fact that not only was William, I mean, I guess, yeah, yeah, he basically said it like William's cheating on Jenny with Miss Gilbert, right? Or at least wants to.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and then when all this stuff hits the head, and by the way, I don't even know why they need to leave town so urgently. Is it the audit or is it the Sabini part? Because like all of a sudden they have to like leave town, and he's gonna leave his wife with
I assume
nothing.
it's the audit.
Like, okay, so he's just gone. I mean, he's a really really bad guy to just like lie to
Yeah,
your wife for a year, sell take stuff out of the house claiming you're selling it, and maybe some of it was sold, but the good stuff grew up to Miss Gilbert,
yeah,
and then secretly be having a bunch of money on the side, right? So we're living in poverty, or we're
yeah.
having financial trouble at least. Meanwhile, you're stockpiling money with your best friend and your mistress.
Right.
And then when the shit hits the fan, you leave and don't say any. Like that's crazy. Like that's like sociopathic. I think like that's really intense.
It is. It is. But
Um,
I think that's what they're telling us.
mhm, mhm.
I mean, you
I
know,
just wish. I just feel like if this was a movie, and maybe this says, I don't know what it says about movies. I feel like if this was a movie, we'd get an end credit scene with Jenny meeting up with him, and she clinks the champagne glass with them, and it's like our plan worked, everybody. Like I
right.
just feel like it just would make sense if somehow she was in on it too. But that's just how much William doesn't want to be with her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's part of why they wrote that in. Yeah, I just feel like they didn't
Why
want
does
to have the letter writer's own daughter involved in the scheme.
but
Like,
why have the picture of the four of them? Why say that Jenny knows her? Did that come to anything?
yeah, I mean, I think they sort of mentioned that uh that they had known each other and they had been hanging out, but like I think they were doing this scheme without her knowledge. I think that's what we're supposed to believe at least. Um
Yeah, I just
let's
don't know
see.
why they showed the picture of the four of them.
Yeah, no, I don't really know.
What do you think? Okay, so now that we understand what happened at the house, the altercation at the house, what do you think was the situation when the scene when Joshua left the pamphlet with the D on it and nodded to the cop and all that? How does that make any sense?
Yeah, when I read that again, I thought we were going to learn that the police are corrupt and
Mm-hmm.
involved with Sabini, but now I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. It's confused. I mean, I could see he comes back, he was attacked there. He's a gangster. It's like, you got the better of me, but like I'll be back for you. We're not done. I assume that that's the idea of coming back.
Okay, so because he put D for disqualified, right?
Yeah.
And what does that mean again? He said that meant um oh, to designate that a horse has been disqualified, struck from the race.
Yeah.
So, and this was after the altercation. He comes back.
Yeah.
Okay, so he shows up expecting most likely to just do his normal spiel, and then they're trying to leave, and then they jump him. He gets hit with a poker and runs away. Hours later, he comes back. He sees police are there, right? So he's not like he can't go to the door or whatever. But he decides to leave a pamphlet with a D, trying to communicate to them. Although why does he think they're there? There's police there. But okay, the police can't be there forever. They'll come back at some point. They'll get this pamphlet with a D that says disqualified, and that's him telling them that they're disqualified. Like meaning I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. I mean, that's my best guess. Something along those lines.
Okay.
He's very theatrical, so
Ah, he learned that at yeah,
exactly. I feel like that's why
in
they told
in
us
theater
they told us
school.
that thing. Like doing the preacher is like doing
So
real life theater improv.
yeah, so when he oh okay, so maybe that explains yeah, in this scene, where is it? Where he like oh man, let's see. Removing the pamphlet. Uh where's the part where he was talking about Joshua hanging out and he's gonna go to the wagon and then he stops to read the Bible for a while. Remember that part?
Oh, you're talking about when he's outside?
Yeah, here we go. McPherson gave Joshua a shake of the head before both got in their wagon and went off. Oh, he saw Joshua with his repent sign in hand, one of the bobbies. Okay. The preacher folded the leaflet between the slats of the gates. He limped across. Oh, he was limping.
Yeah, there's the limping thing. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So he had already gotten. Okay, so we were
Yeah.
off about the limping happening at the end through the
Yeah.
Sakini. Okay, so that would have made it clear
Yeah,
then.
that if we caught
Yeah,
that, that would have helped.
I guess we didn't question that he wasn't limping before this point.
Yeah, not really. Such a weird character. I guess I assumed like, oh, maybe he just always limps. I
Yeah,
don't
I guess he
know.
was just a limper.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay, and then he crossed the street and took up position behind a beer wagon. He read a Bible for some seconds. So this is just him in character being method, huh?
Yep. I
Like
think
he's like
so.
somewhere there's a camera. There's always an audience. You know, like
Yep.
like he's got to stay in character, and so he's gonna go like read this Bible. But he isn't. Does he really care about this?
I mean, he
Like, is he
cares enough to
really?
do it.
Is
I
he
don't
really
know.
anti-Catholic? Probably not, since he's his cousin is a shark or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
this is crazy, man. This is a crazy. I feel like this was the best story. This is the best Holmes letter,
Yeah.
and I think of the ones we read on the site, or at least read about on the site, based on the answer letter. I think this was the best one. This was
Yeah.
because the characters had depth to their play. Like every major person was doing like two different things.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, and the way the first one went with the astrolabe, like obviously it was the inspector who stole it,
Yeah.
so there was like duplicity, but not to this level.
No.
Like it
No.
wasn't like every character. We suspected a lot of characters, like I
Mhm.
remember when we were
Mhm.
going through that, but like most of the characters, I
Yeah.
mean, they weren't doing anything. They're just like minding their own business and
This
they're like caught
letter's
up in this.
this letter is what we wanted the first letter to be, right? Was it
Yeah,
the idea that like, oh, dude was Mark was playing his music and it hit the
right.
frequency and it shattered the
Yep,
glass in the
yep,
astrolabe and like
yep.
then they had to go and cover it up by stealing all this stuff and it's like nope, nope, none of that happened. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like from the first one, I didn't think stuff that convoluted was really possible. So
yeah,
now
yeah,
that we've done this one, I know like, okay, it's actually valid to like go out on a limb and
mm-hmm.
say, like, oh, maybe the other gangster is pretending to be the original gangster, and also maybe, oh my god,
yeah,
the the guy at the bank is involved in the scheme, but is also interested in Miss Gilbert.
mm-hmm.
And like, it's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Which is like completely unnecessary because he could just have been getting paid off or getting a profit of
Yeah,
the portion of the profits, but they
yeah,
give him this extra motivation that he's like hopelessly in love or infatuated with this woman who has no interest in him, and
yeah,
I feel like they gave us no clue to that at all, um, which is just Sherlock like somehow being a genius, right? I guess,
yeah,
and just knowing that that's true. Um, Even though Wark doesn't have, he never wrote anything that would allude to that.
right.
I don't know, unless we missed something in what they wrote, but I don't remember
Yeah, I
seeing
know.
that.
I was like, I'd have to read those bank scenes. Like, all right, let me see if I can see anything here.
Huh?
Okay, blah blah blah. This is just them talking. Um, Jacobson shows up.
Are you on
Um,
letter three?
yeah, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Ah, Mr. Kinsey, Miss Gilbert here can help you with anything else you may need. Good day. I don't know. Does that count? That's all he has to say to have anything to do with Miss Gilbert. So that doesn't really sound like infatuation to me.
Oh, here
Um,
goes. As he left the room, I thanked him and turned back to the flustered Miss Gilbert. Is she flustered because the boss likes her,
I assume she's flustered because she's in on the scheme.
and because the boss likes her? All right, I'm trying here.
uh, let's see. I'm
And then
trying
in letter four,
to.
there's some stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Okay, here's Jacobson. All right, let's see. Um,
I also
uh,
feel like they didn't go overboard to say that Miss Gilbert was like, the most beautiful woman in the world or
yeah,
irresistible.
yeah,
They didn't
yeah,
really like, you know what I mean? Like they didn't like, he's not like, oh Sherlock, something something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's nothing here. I mean, that's just like you just have to go out on a limb to come up with
Hmm.
that. I think the fact that he was involved in the scheme was reasonable to guess.
Yeah, like Sherlock's is like, okay, the only reason a guy like this would be involved in this scheme, like he's not going to do it for money because he would have done it before when he was younger,
Yeah.
or had less to lose in his life or something. It's the only thing that's going to entice a man of his age and status would be a younger woman or
Mm-hmm.
something. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah. Yeah. But still, I feel like we don't usually have to do that much thinking. I don't
yeah,
know.
I agree. So, what was the thing where they said? Let me go back to what was the phrase? Unquestionably. What did he say was unquestionably?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Oh, here
All
we
right.
go. This made him a strong suspect for Nickerson's murder, For while it is unquestionable that Sabini and associates placed the bogus obituaries in the newspapers, he had another. Okay, so it's unquestionable that Sabini and associates placed the obituaries in the newspapers. Okay. Um, so even though sometimes, so here's what's weird, right? Because I think it's still true that sometimes Sabini would beat up people directly. Because right, there's some people who got beat up
Yep.
and didn't ever have an obituary, right? That's group one. Group two is the people
Well, there
who
was a
had
guy
an
who got beat
obituary.
up and then got an obituary.
That's group four.
I don't
Group two
think
is
there's anyone who got beat up that didn't get an obituary.
yes, there is.
Who?
Yes, the guy at the bar.
He gets an
Uh,
obituary later.
later, but that's a different thing than the people who got an obituary and then got beat up, or the people who got an obituary and never got beat up, like Big Jack, because he started running. Um,
Okay.
but it's so, or do you think some of the people who got beat up, who might be the outliers in all of these cases, was due to Jack Darby?
I guess it could be. I guess it could be. It could also be that it was some other less theatrical Sabini collector who did the beating up.
Oh, okay. So you just reminded me. Yeah, obviously the Sabini. So Sherlock is thinking Joshua is directly connected to the obituaries.
Yes.
He's Sabini's cousin. That makes
Yes.
it unquestionable.
I think that is the idea. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what I thought. I just thought like, oh, he's
That's the
escalating to
funny thing.
murder now.
Well, yeah, and that's the
But
funny thing too, right? The fact that Joshua is just cosplaying for fun, like, is not something you would guess.
definitely not. Definitely not. Yeah, that whole reveal that he worked in a theater is like, what? Was that were we supposed to know that? Is like Birmingham notable for its
Hmm.
theater?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, he was very theatrical on the street, right? Remember when he has the sign? He's just standing around picketing by himself. Remember I was saying how weird that was
Yeah.
because he wasn't
Yeah.
with the other guilty remnants or
Right.
the or what is it?
The
Um, Gauntlet of Morality,
something something
Guilty
yeah.
Gauntlet.
What were they called? The Guilty Gauntlet. Yep. Uh yeah, where is
The
it?
Gauntlet of Righteousness. Did I make that up?
Is that what it is?
I don't know anymore.
I keep just finding it. Okay, hold on. I think it was talked about the end of letter one. Let's
Yeah,
see. Yeah, he keeps just calling it, yeah, Gauntlet of Righteousness.
yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's just like lurking about. Um
Yeah, it wasn't picketing with them. He's just by himself. Like again, why are you doing this? This is why you're this? I feel like this is why Sabini should have beat him up. Like, because he's just sitting around doing nothing. What are you doing? He's not out collecting money. He's out just like exploring his character or something. I don't get it. Like, who is that for? You know what I mean? Like it's like he doesn't. He's not an actual zealot about gambling. Okay, that's not what's motivating
right.
him. He's out to get money for his cousin,
Yeah.
and yet sometimes you catch him on the street by himself, wasting time. That's crazy. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know. I don't know why that happened.
It's a weird character, definitely.
And it wasn't like he's on his way somewhere. He just was standing there doing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's a
true.
weird one, man. That's a whole weird one. Well, all right. I gotta say that was a much more satisfying conclusion than I was expecting.
Me too. Me too. I
Yeah,
thought it was gonna be like a bunch of like
yeah.
like the simplest,
Mm-hmm.
sort of most obvious way to I was sure that basically everything in the letter would be something we already said, and that was so not true.
So the trunk had the money in it, not
Yeah.
William.
Yeah. William was
Okay.
somewhere else, I
Yeah.
guess. Still alive.
Yeah. And it's funny, Chekhov said a gun in the first act goes off in the third, right? William had a gun and they never used it.
Yeah, you're
He got
right.
hit with the poker instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the gun didn't come into play at all. That's very strange, but
Yep.
maybe they thought they might do something with the gun. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't happen. But yeah, yeah, no, I think this one was definitely more successful, and now that I know like there's room to do this kind of wild speculating, I'll be a little more free with my associating and like coming up with alternate, motivations and secrets for the characters, because I mean, yeah, that was just off the charts in this.
Yeah, we were theorizing before, like, I don't know if that makes sense. That's really 3D chess for a character like
Yeah,
that. And it's like,
yeah,
nope, actually that was what's happening. And
it's
yeah, the bad
totally
guys were
fine.
like, it's like, oh, something you're like bad guy B is like bad guy A is doing something. I'll just go and get him arrested for that. And then bad guy A is like, oh, well, bad guy B should get me arrested. I'll get myself arrested. How about
Right.
that? Like, okay. But then it's not like
Yeah,
useless because it uses that opportunity to kill bad guy B.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then people
yeah.
are like, "Oh well," which is a weird. This is a weird imprint. Like, "Oh well, Sabini couldn't have done it. He was in jail." Well, he obviously didn't literally do it. I don't think he would
I
have
know.
literally
Who would
couldn't have
think he would
literally
do it
done it.
himself? Like
Yeah,
it's very
but it does keep him
questionable.
out of jail for sure for it. But it's like, it doesn't need to do that, but it helps.
Yeah, yeah, the fact that Sabini is like playing a game,
Yeah.
and he's got this theatrical cousin collector. He
Mm-hmm.
gets himself arrested as a cover story to have his rival killed. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
tip of the hat. I don't know. Like there's a whole like gangster drama
Yeah.
going on there.
It is a gangster drama. Yeah, there's a turf war happening. He's
Yeah,
moving
like
in
a
on this turf, and he
Godfather
had to
kind of
like,
plot. Like,
yeah, he had to like show him what's up, and like,
yeah.
I do. It would have been. I mean, I guess you're right. Like, they didn't really underline it, but we could sort of just think that there was, Sabini does have some relationship with the cops. Joshua did nod to that one cop,
Mm-hmm.
so it could be a thing where, you know, he knew when if he got himself arrested, like he's got friends there, right? So, because it is his town,
Right.
it's Jack
That's where I
Darby's the one
thought it was
moving.
gonna go, but then it was like, no, he wanted to be arrested, and it's like, okay, well, maybe that's
Mm-hmm.
all there was. But yeah, I don't think there's anything to like contradict that. Maybe there's some. He's got friends inside. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy in
Mm-hmm.
context, I think. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to believe it.
Well, there you have it, Wark. I love that line. That's it. That was all it was. Oh, this whole thing. Okay, so this whole thing about the coronia,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
I didn't understand that part. Like, well, how are we supposed to assume that that's what they're doing? And I
I
guess
mean,
the
there's
Corona is going to go to New York City, but then when they get to New York City, they're going to get arrested and be taken back. So like it'll be weeks later.
yeah, yeah, that's true. No airplanes, I
I mean, hey,
guess.
listen, two Atlantic cruises is not a bad thing to do before prison.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, we could have inferred they're on the run,
Mm-hmm. And
maybe
they
we
had to
could
leave the
have
country.
gone to they got to leave the country, but yeah, like, I don't think it's reasonable for us to be specific, like,
That
here's
they have
what
to go to America.
here's what
Like,
boat they're going to get on and which way they're going to
yeah,
go, and like, okay,
yeah.
cuz they could run to a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, no, I take that as just a weird, like, just a detail to flesh it out a bit, but I don't know. If someone was supposed to guess that, they'd have to know more than I do about how you got from, you know, the UK to anywhere else at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's a real ship or not, or just a fill-in for any ship that would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how I want to take it, but
Yeah.
whatever. What do I know?
Um. Yeah. All right. Well, that was really interesting. Yeah. I think what's strange about this one and why I don't think it's a complete I could imagine a better, more successful mystery is that I enjoyed the ending a lot. I enjoyed the wrap up a lot. I didn't really care about the setup.
Mm-hmm.
The whole missing betters and like I don't really care, but I'm kind of half like related to it. Like something's happening with my daughter's husband, but like the actual mystery is kind of unrelated to me. But I just happen to be a detective too, so I'm sort of interested. Like I feel like the setup could have been more interesting. It could have
Yeah.
been more gripping to match
I
the really
mean,
interesting
I
ending.
mean, why was,
That's the only better thing I could think to
the
have.
idea seems good. I'm not really sure why it got so tedious at a certain point.
Mhm.
Because I think they didn't really up the stakes that much, and sort of like the part of the plot that seemed interesting, this whole thing with the obituaries, like it kind of fizzles at a certain point, and
I
there's
think,
not
yeah,
there's not a lot of urgency, and it kind of pivots to this like bank scheme that's like a
yeah.
bit less interesting.
I think
um
Warwick should have been implicated. I think he should have been like, dear Sherlock, even though I'm a small time bettor, one of my bettors is dead now, and the police think I did it. I think that would have helped with the urgency
yeah, that would have
to
made it
make it
more like the
feel,
the first mystery
yeah,
where
to
it was
make
the
it
letter writer in
feel,
jail.
yeah, to make it feel a bit more, have more stakes. I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's fair. But yeah, it was it was sort of the opposite of the first one in that way. Like I think in the
Hmm.
first one I enjoyed the build up more than I did the
I agree.
conclusion.
Yeah.
But in this case it was reverse. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what the next one's like, I
Let's
guess.
see what the next one's like. Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe.
All right. Well, anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that's it for now.
Okay.
See you next, Holmes, or other thing. Enjoy your
Thanks everybody for another
evening,
great
morning,
Dear Holmes mystery.
afternoon. Um, and until next time, what do we say?
See you later.
See you later. All right.